It went to a whole new stream.
Oh, I can't even remember. Because when the last thing I saw when somebody said the truth is political, that's like probably right after we played the clip, because that's when she said something about this is political.
I wish we could figure out what time these were. Let me see if last 2 times, man, we've had problems. All right, so it seems like we are back. Boy, I wonder. Censored again. Man, so we were right in the middle of talking about this this interview with Napolitano and Harris Faulkner. I'm not sure exactly where we cut out. I'm not sure. I'll go back into what I was saying about Jeffrey Berman, because that's the last point I was making, I guess. I don't, like I said, I hope it wasn't. I hope we weren't out.
Yeah,
for
I'm wondering,
like
I mean, for those who were on the stream before it went out, what's the last thing that was said, or what's the last thing you remember being said or point being made? Did
you were cutting out while the interview was playing, and officially we're out in the middle of your discussion. All right, so let's play let's play the interview again then, and just go back through it, I guess. Because if you didn't see the interview, then you're not gonna know exactly where we're going with this or what we're talking about.
Somebody said, let's say go back down, go back down. So the last thing I remember was y'all saying that the hosts are good at changing the topic.
Okay, so you did it right as you switch. So did everybody see the video? Was everybody able to see the video? The interview with Napolitano and Harris Faulkner.
Sort of.
Sort of. Damn.
I'm just guessing that if there's some sort of network error, that it's going to affect everybody differently.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Not at the same time. So I think for the most part, the video was seen.
Okay. So it seems like it was right after we played the video. All right.
That's not too bad.
All right. So go back into your commentary, what you were saying right after the video.
Oh, I was just saying that, like, she was being very clever, as actually Napolitano actually said. He did a very respectful job at kind of redirecting the conversation, because she wanted to redirect the conversation to talking about the Mueller or Russia probe, which that conversation had nothing to do with, and I think she knew that, because she came on that segment with a pre-established narrative, and that was crumbling because of Napolitano. And he is biased in a certain way when he's talking about other topics, but when it comes to legal issues, he's going to be straightforward. He's coming with his legal mind, I guess, in his arsenal. And that's how he delivers his commentary, and that's what he was doing in this case. And he was pretty much justifying the House Judiciary Committee's grounds to request these documents from these 81 people. And she tried to shut that down. But he did a good job of redirecting the conversation from her attempted deflection.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Her job, look, we've seen this many times. Fox News host and, the pundits there, that of course includes Harris Faulkner. Their job is to support President Donald Trump. In 2019, when he is being attacked right now, of course their job is to deflect and to distract. And so the very first thing she tried to distract to was the collusion. What does the collusion have to do with what's going on with Michael Cohen? And of course, it doesn't have anything to do with it whatsoever. It's not related whatsoever. But it doesn't mean that it's not relevant to talk about. She then pointed to she pointed to the credibility of Michael Cohen and how he's a criminal liar. She said the words criminal liar, and how Andrew Napolitano has had problems with him before too. And Napolitano states that, he does have a shady record, no doubt. But when you're somebody like Michael Cohen right now, and you have been caught, all right, your dirty deeds have been caught, and now you're dealing with federal prosecutors, it would behoove you to actually be honest with these federal prosecutors, because if you're not, you're going to get time added onto your sentence. So that tells you something about if Michael Cohen should be believed or not. Then she starts talking about there should be a better way to adjudicate these things.
Mm-hmm.
How else would you adjudicate these things other than like what's going on right now? President Donald Trump seems to be lying about his record, about his past. President Donald Trump seems to be lying about his criminal actions. So there's no other way to adjudicate these things whatsoever. You would have to go through the legal process to arrive at the truth, because he doesn't seem to be offering it up.
Okay, now why are we in this position right now in the first place? Why are these records and subpoenas being, I guess, issued, records requests being issued to these 81 people in the first place? What caused this?
The Michael Cohen testimony.
Okay, then. So her commentary would make sense, and her deflection would make sense, and her I guess lack of trust in this process would make sense if Cohen hadn't been convicted at all. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because Cohen is the spark to all this. She's acting like Cohen hasn't given up anything, and as if Cohen hasn't already pleaded guilty and is going to jail.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So there's actually substance there.
There's substance.
There's
a
substance
reason to be going through this whole process.
Correct.
Look, President Donald Trump, the Republicans, Fox News, all these Republicans and conservatives, they are framing this as Michael Cohen not having any credibility. Michael Cohen lying. President Donald Trump has stated at least many times, that Michael Cohen lied to federal prosecutors in order to get a better deal from them. Now, it doesn't make any sense, of course, because like you saw, Andrew Napolitano dispelled that myth. That would be really risky for him. But think about who's leading the case, okay? Think about who is dealing with think about who is dealing with Michael Cohen. So it's the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. The U.S. attorney in that office is Jeffrey Berman. Now, Jeffrey Berman has recused himself on this matter. I don't know if anybody knows exactly why he has, but since he has, now the top deputy, his top deputy is handling the case, and he's the one that actually approved of the raid on Michael Cohen's offices. His name is Robert Kazami. So all of these people have been put in place during the Trump administration. Jeffrey Berman, now again, he has been appointed to the role as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He hasn't been confirmed by the Senate yet, and we don't know if he's going to be the nominee. But he has been put in place. I mean, I believe he was his appointment was made by then Sessions. Yeah, I was going to say Beauregard.
Jeffrey.
But yeah, that announcement was made while Sessions was at the DOJ. Again, these are all people that were put into place under this Republican administration, this Trump administration. So if you believe Trump's narrative and the Fox narrative and the conservative narrative that these federal prosecutors are okay being lied to, they're going to take Michael Cohen's lies, they're going to give him a reduced sentence, all in order to go after President Donald Trump that was involved with putting them in place in the first place?
You have to do that. Because you have to kind of make this entire case surround partisan politics, even though it does not. Because that's the case that Donald Trump, as well as Fox News, as well as a lot of his supporters have been trying to make. It's just a bunch of angry Democrats.
Angry Democrats.
Angry Democrats. And it's not. These people were not appointed by Democrats.
And they're probably not Democrats.
They're not Democrats. Just like the FBI director, Christopher Wray, and the person under him are Republicans. Rosenstein and Mueller are damn Republicans. The individuals that arrested, or the federal judges, or the federal judges that announced the arrest of Maria Butina, some Russian operative who infiltrated the NRA.
Right.
That announcement was made by officials that are Republicans that were appointed by Donald Trump. So I think it's kind of an easy route to go to always look at the other party and say, oh, this is about politics. This is about politics. It's them kind of behind all this when the facts do not, line up with that.
But see, it's easy to be vague, like these Fox pundits and President Donald Trump are being. Hey, it's the system coming after me. It's these angry Democrats that are coming after me. But then when you do just the slightest bit of digging and actually learn who is actually populating these offices, who are making these decisions. Who are the ones responsible for actually going after Michael Cohen, it was the people that you put in place.
Yo, that's God. There's no way he doesn't know that. There's no way he doesn't know that. Because, like, first of all, again, who is giving up the goods right now? Yeah. Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was loyal to Donald Trump for over a decade.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen is not a friend of any Democrat particularly.
Right.
He worked for Trump. He was loyal to Trump. And the person that is kind of at the heart of this situation right now and who poses a threat to Trump's presidency and his reputation is someone who worked for him. And I like the way Michael Cohen is playing it, though.
I do.
Because he had a public hearing, Monday?
Mm-hmm.
He had a public hearing on Monday.
It was last week.
Last week?
Yeah, last week, I believe.
Thursday. Friday?
I can't remember now.
Well, he had a public hearing. And I think the purpose of that hearing was to kind of put some information out there so he can get a response from both Trump and those who he implicated during that hearing. I'm not sure they knew Cohen would be back yesterday, because this is just my kind of me spitballing. I think he purposely, came to that hearing and put stuff out there so then he'd get a response, a lie from the opposition, Trump, whoever's connected to Trump, whoever defended Trump, and then come back today or yesterday with all the receipts. Because he had bags, he had luggage full of receipts.
Yeah, it looked like he was going on a trip.
No, it did. It did. So, I think that hearing was pretty much secret. You said you saw some video of it?
Yeah, well, not the hearing, but just him with the luggage.
With the yeah. So that kind of was secret. Right. So there's a lot more that's gonna come from this.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the Commerce Department. Yeah. Last week, the Commerce Department announced that in 2018, the trade deficit of the United States set a record, an all-time high of $891.2 billion. Now, the trade deficit of the United States is not something that I believe that we have ever talked about on this program. And we have been doing this program for over 2 years. I mean, we've been doing it since 2016. And I don't believe we've ever actually mentioned the trade deficit. The reason that we're going to talk about it now, though, is because of President Donald Trump. When he was candidate Donald Trump, he talked about the embarrassing record, or not the embarrassing record, but the embarrassing amounts of trade deficits that we have with countries all over the world, and how he was going to do something about it. He had nothing but condemnation for President Obama and other leaders as well, past presidents as well, because of disastrous trade policies, disastrous policy ideas, and how he was going to do something else. He was going to put America first. He was going to actually enact trade agreements with countries that benefit us as a country. So to now receive the information that we have an all-time high mark of $891.2 billion in trade deficits under somebody that was trying to put America first is very interesting.
But was he really trying to do that? Right? Was he really trying to do that? Like when he said, America first, like that seems more campaigny.
It does.
You see what I'm saying? When he's putting America first, like what do you think he was actually trying to put first? Because people like to do that. They like to kind of frame their campaign around things like America, patriotism, freedom, those buzzwords. But really, what they're trying to do is kind of covertly like shade what their real motives are behind whatever economic agenda they have. Right. So what he really meant by America first is my corporations first, my buddies first. I want the businesses and the corporations to be first. You see what I'm saying? Like, why would we believe like him in the first place? Why would people believe that he actually kind of wanted to engage in these trade wars for the benefit of regular folks? Is that something he has done throughout his life? That's my question. Number two is, what is his kind of financial history. What kind of financial history does he have as a businessman? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, to me, this news is not surprising because, like, Donald Trump, as a businessman, is the epitome of a trade deficit himself because he's been bankrupt more, I guess, as many times as you can fit on your hand. More than that, 5 or 6 times. To the point where there were banks who didn't even want to deal with him or give him loans. I think that's why he's kind of in the predicament he is in right now, because he's had to maybe seek help, financial help, from some not so savory characters. That's why he's in the situation he's in now. But this is kind of a illustration of who Trump is, this news to me, and I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. It's just very interesting because, again, when you rhetorically, he's for the common person, right? He's for the people at the bottom. He's for the middle class, and all of his rhetoric suggests that. This trade war that he has launched with virtually every country across the globe, these tariffs that are hitting virtually every country. China is the one that has been hit the hardest by the United States tariffs. With China alone, the trade deficit with China reached an all-time high last year of $419 billion.
What about the farmers who are right now receiving subsidies because of Trump's trade war? You don't really hear about that, but they're getting subsidies right now because they're suffering.
That they don't want.
They want Trump to end these trade wars.
Right, because that's not sustainable. They want to be able to actually earn their money, but they can't because of these trade wars. Just days ago, okay, it was just this month, just days ago, Donald Trump categorized the trade deficit as a disaster. That's his word, disaster. He also talked about, quote, horrible deals negotiated by former presidents. So this is, again, interesting. This situation was not created by Donald Trump. This situation is not the fault of Donald Trump whatsoever. It's his predecessors. It's Barack Obama and George W. Bush and others that created these awful trade policies. Now, they didn't get to a point where there's a record high. No, that was all Donald Trump. But again, it's not his fault. But when you're talking about the economy is strong, right? And that's all because of President Donald Trump. The unemployment rates that have been falling, that's because of President Donald Trump, not because Barack Obama. Under President Barack Obama, it was a trend that was developing. It was a trend that the unemployment rate was falling for the black community, for Latinx people. And when President Donald Trump took over, it got to an all-time low mark. And he took sole credit for that. Look how great we're doing. That has nothing to do with Barack Obama. That's all about me. But this trade deficit, it's not on his shoulders whatsoever. Not him at all.
But like, I think this is an interesting conversation to have, like whether it be like trade deficits or trade deals, as Donald Trump likes to talk about, because he always talks about NAFTA, the TPP, and renegotiating those deals. But really, what does that have to do with in the first place? Who does that have to do with? Who does that center upon? Do these trade deals really like affect our lives that much?
Well, they can't.
They can't. No. What I'm saying, like, even
negatively.
Well, if these trade deals are seen as good, who are they good for?
Oh, yeah, big business, corporations, CEOs.
Yeah, it's not like money is flowing into the pockets of the American people.
Hell no.
I mean, you may be able to sell it as like, oh, there'll be more jobs available. But see, what type of jobs will those be though? So who is affected, even if these trade deals have us coming out on top? Who is really reaping the benefits of those in the first place?
Exactly.
So you have Trump, and you have like all these representatives talking about these trade deals as if they're going to have this overwhelming effect on regular people and their net worth, and they really don't.
All right. Let's go to North Korea. Fresh off of the second summit featuring President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un in Vietnam, North Korea is this. Let me start that over. Fresh off of the second summit featuring President Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, North Korea is now being suspected of rebuilding a certain facility, a facility that is capable of launching rockets at that site. So according to U.S. and South Korean intelligence experts, satellite images confirm that reconstruction has begun at Sohae Satellite Launching Station. So North Korea had began the process of dismantling operations at that facility after the first summit back in April of 2018. And this was a possible sign that Kim Jong-un was serious about denuclearization. So with the news of this, that seems like they're ramping things back up to where they previously were, that probably wouldn't be comfortable news for somebody like President Donald Trump.
Oh, ramping it up out in the open, and like it was like the day after, right? It was like a day after. It was the day after
it was soon.
It was like a day or two after the talks crumbled.
Yeah, and see, we have to note that the talks did crumble in that second meeting. They did not reach an agreement, and the reason that Trump gave was because North Korea, Kim Jong-un, wanted all of the sanctions lifted. And President Trump said that they weren't ready to do that. They weren't prepared to do that, even though I believe the main site that they were talking about, I can't remember the name of that site, but this was the site that was, I guess, the one that was capable of producing plutonium. So I believe Kim Jong-un was on board of shutting down that site, but there were possibly others that weren't going to be shut down, or maybe the totality of the nuclear program wasn't going to be shut down.
But here's the thing, like Trump and his advisors, his advisory team, didn't know that that's what Kim Jong-un wanted before that last meeting. You see what I'm saying? I have a problem with that. You mean to tell me they didn't know that those were the parameters? There's just something off about it. Like, there was speculation going around, because it was a Newsweek article that suggested that it was John Bolton who was responsible for blowing that deal up, because it blew up on Thursday morning, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently Wednesday, when everything was lined up to kind of iron out a deal, and when everybody thought that the deal was being made, one of his chief advisors was not there. On Wednesday, was not there at the dinner table, and that was John Bolton, his national security advisor. Now, John Bolton was not there on Wednesday, apparently, but on Thursday, he was there. So he shows up to the table, and the deal falls apart? So, to me, that may be a simplistic explanation of the issue, John Bolton, it's John Bolton's fault. But, think about what that kind of suggests. That suggests that Donald Trump was not prepared. He did not kind of discuss with his advisory team the details of what they were actually seeking or wanting. That's if John Bolton was at fault for blowing it up.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But something happened. And I do think that John Bolton, someone who is known for blowing up international talks when it comes to peace,
he's a divisive
figure. But still, that's still Trump's fault, though.
Yeah, it would be.
Trump chose him as his national security advisor. So even if that's the case, it's still Trump's fault.
So, responding to this news about the satellite images suggesting that North Korea is ramping up operations at a particular nuclear launch site, President Trump responded by telling reporters at the White House, "I would be very disappointed if that were happening. It's a very early report. We're the ones that put it out, but I would be very, very disappointed in Chairman Kim, and I don't think I will be. But we'll see what happens. We'll take a look. It'll ultimately get solved."
I'm very disappointed, but I don't think I will be.
No, but I guess because he's trying to convey the message that he doesn't really believe the reports, because I guess based on his interactions with Chairman Kim Jong-un, this is not something that Kim Jong-un would do at this point, because they have fostered such a great relationship.
Oh, because he has love for Kim now. They have a good. They're involved in this romantic love affair with one another. They have good rapport. They laugh and talk and hold hands and stuff like that.
So hold off on determining if this is actually a thing or not. Okay, I know what the satellite imagery suggests, but just hold off. We'll see if this is actually what it appears to be.
You're being played. It sounds like he's being played and doesn't want to admit he's being played like a fiddle right now.
I'm gonna check the math real quick. This situation with North Korea, not a crisis. The southern border, a crisis. A crisis which prompted Trump to declare a national emergency. That is a crisis. North Korea having nuclear ability, not a crisis. North Korea possibly ramping things back up, not a crisis.
Again, like, I think we personally don't really think it's a crisis. Like if everyone else is going to have nuclear weapons, like our allies, we think North Korea should too.
Right.
Because that's the only deterrent from kind of being imperialized.
Yeah.
Regardless of what type of government they have now. You know, regardless of how people view Kim Jong-un as a leader.
Right.
So we don't see it as a crisis.
No.
But the thing about, I think the point you were making is that the United States officials and the Trump administration has presented this as a crisis from the beginning. And the media hasn't done a good job at pushing back on that. Because all you see is like North Korea has long-range missiles that can reach the West Coast. Kim Jong-un is a dangerous and unhinged man. That's kind of what we've been seeing.
Yes.
So the media has done its part and kind of both actively and passively kind of pushing this narrative that North Korea is dangerous. And we saw this primarily from our president, Donald Trump, when he was on Twitter talking about, you know, North Korea or Kim Jong-un's button being smaller, I guess threatening to blow him off the map. So he's kind of been infusing this situation from the jump, painting North Korea as the most existential threat militarily that the United States is facing.
Why? Why? Simply because they have nuclear capability.
So now, all of a sudden, Kim Jong-un he's a nice guy, we believe.
Nothing has changed,
Nothing
though,
has changed,
when you're
though.
talking about the actual facts of what's going on. Nothing has changed with their nuclear capability. Actually, if you want to say things have changed, they're more nuclear capable. So that's the only thing.
If
that's
their
changed.
narrative it was a crisis a couple years ago, that's their narrative. That's not our narrative. If it was a crisis, it was an existential crisis to prevent the United States from being attacked with nuclear weapons. If that's the case, if that was the case, and nothing has changed, how come there's no longer a crisis?
Exactly.
I think that's the point that you were trying to make by kind of comparing the two crises.
Just put it into perspective. Just put it into perspective, because actually, if you, I think you were stating too, the real crisis, if you're talking about nuclear weapons, is that they exist at all in any country. That's the real crisis. All right, let's move on. Oh yeah, get to the bandit.
Stupid.
All right.
Trash bandit. The trash bandit.
Oh boy. All right. I gotta put on my serious face for this, man, because I got some work to do here. All right. You don't mess me up neither, man. Don't mess me up, because I got some work to do here. All right. I gotta frame this.
Wait.
I gotta frame this in the right way.
What makes you think I'd mess you up in any kind of way?
I gotta frame.
I mean, I'm prepared to deal with this story with the utmost maturity.
Oh, okay.
And
that's good to hear.
Completely serious.
Completely serious.
And provide no sarcasm.
All right. Okay. Let me set this up.
It's not a guarantee, but
it's not guaranteed.
But I'm just saying, that's what I'm entering this segment.
All right.
That's the kind of mindset I'm entering this segment with. You know what I'm saying? All right.
So, all right, let's all right. We have a tale of some real heroic police work in Colorado recently. Apparently, there was a suspicious-looking individual, a real shady-looking character, who just happened to be black, that was standing in front of a home picking up trash. Now, you can understand why the police were on high alert when they were confronted with this individual. As it turns out, the devious-looking man was actually in front of his own home just cleaning up some trash. But he was doing so with some very dangerous types of equipment. He was holding a bucket and a clamp, like a metal trash grabber. So, like I said, you can understand the high alert here. A police officer approached and asked for ID, which the suspect did offer up. Believing that this had to be a part of a larger conspiracy, the officer called for backup, and the crew came to support their fellow officer in his time of need. So we do have some video that we would like to show you from this very, very dangerous event. And the video is shot by an individual that was living in the home as well and probably knew the suspect.
I will say, though, you might want to maybe provide like a warning for like the content we're about to show.
Yeah.
Like if you have children in the room, you know what I'm saying? If you have children in the room, you might want to like, send them to another room before you watch this video, because this is a video that might make your stomach turn, and it might create some sort of trauma for your children, okay?
True. And all of what you're talking about too is you're talking about the actions of this man. The fear that you might feel based on this man's actions.
No, because like whatever he's holding, whatever he has in his hand, this clamp, it doesn't look like a normal trash clamp. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It looks like some sort of like contraption you would see like on like a action movie where someone is trying to like I guess kill somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a normal trash clamp.
It possibly could have been a projectile weapon.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it looks like. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking.
So we just wanted to, just lay the groundwork here so that you're in the right frame of mind.
Like, because just like think about Mortal Kombat when you're judging the situation and whether this is an actual trash clamp, because this might be a weapon that you would see on like Mortal Kombat. Right.
Cover the kids' eyes. All right. So this video is just under 3 minutes long, just to prepare you.
That's a clamp. I used one of those when I worked for New York State to pick up trash on the bridge. Go home. This is ridiculous. What am I watching?
He's got his gun in his hand.
Oh my God.
He's got a gun. 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 Just relax. What do you mean? This is my property. This is my house. I live here.
Focus on me. Just
focus on me.
Focus
no,
on
what do you
me.
mean? Focus on you. There's fucking 6 of you.
Just relax. Put that object down.
This is my property.
We just want to talk.
Dude, there's 6 cops. Zayd has a clamp in his hand thinking
This is my boy's video right here. I fucking live here. I'm a resident of this fucking property. I'm picking up garbage for my fucking dorm. I go to school here. I go to school here. Don't fucking tell me what to do. You guys don't have a goddamn fucking right to be doing this.
No right at all!
I'm a citizen of this country. I fucking pay my taxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 officers of the law with guns drawn. Put your fucking gun away, jackass. What, are you gonna shoot me? There's fucking cameras everywhere, dude. Are you gonna shoot me? Dude, you said this is a weapon. It can't be used. Do you feel like this is threatening?
You stupid fuck.
Settle down, you're on my property.
If you put that down, I'll pull my gun away.
Why?
I told you why.
Why?
It can be
It can be
used
used as a weapon. You're a jackass.
No, that's not you.
Put your fucking gun away.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay, could you have a seat over here?
Nope.
Now we can talk?
Nope. I'm not sitting. You can sit.
Please, Dave.
What?
Okay, these 9 people here told me that you are a resident.
Oh, wow. What a fucking surprise.
We're trying to find out, okay?
What a fucking surprise. I gave him my ID, and then he started taking down my fucking information, telling me this, that, and the other thing. And then I walk away, and he pulls his fucking taser out on me. Right?
I can get your name, your date of birth.
You have all my
Find
stuff.
out. I don't have your date of birth.
Why do you need my information? Why are you coming onto my property asking me for my information? This is where I fucking live. I don't need to give you shit. I didn't use shit. You're a jackass.
Straight fucking jackass, you stupid fuck!
Just take a deep breath and we'll take care of it in a different, in a different situation.
There's people out here committing crimes. There's people out here doing real fucking crimes.
Right. It's likely,
you're gonna waste all your resources coming over
it's
here.
likely, you're angry and escalated, and it's likely you got profiled, okay? So we'll pick it up at a different time, not right here, right now.
Right now.
You know, before we showed that video, you mentioned that conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think you elaborated on that conspiracy, but I think what Will was talking about is suspicious neighborhood beautification efforts as a front to criminal behavior.
That must have been what it was.
I think that's what you were talking about, because as you know, there's been a convoy of criminals that go into random neighborhoods and do unwanted yard work. I'm pretty
as a front for something else.
As a front for something else. I mean, if you didn't know, y'all just want y'all to let y'all know that.
So if you see people cleaning up trash on your property, just know.
Best believe
something else is coming.
Something else is coming.
Yeah, you better call the cops. You better call the cops, man.
Don't let like the looks of someone trying to beautify the neighborhood fool you. Don't do it.
Look, man. All right. So
because I did not see a trash clamp. I saw like a throat gouger. That's what I saw.
A throat gouger.
I saw a throat gouger.
Like I stated at the beginning, to be serious here, okay? As I stated at the beginning, this officer, there was one officer initially approached this guy who I don't believe anybody knows exactly. He hasn't been identified yet. But he approached him and for some reason and asked for ID. The guy gave him his ID, and you can hear him in the video. He was saying after that, it was like that wasn't enough. He didn't want me to go back into my place. He pulled his taser, and then all these other guys showed up. So there has been a statement provided by Boulder police, okay? I want you to really hear this statement. A Boulder police officer observed a man sitting in a partially enclosed patio area directly behind a private property sign and initiated contact with the man to determine if he was allowed to be on the property. Now, I guess the thing to pay attention to here is the private property sign. So this officer saw a private property sign and then saw a man that was in this enclosed patio area and wanted to just know if he was, supposed to be there or not. You know what else would have been indicative of any place being private property? A random house.
A random house.
Doesn't matter if it has a sign or not. You're telling me that the officer needed to see the sign to understand that it was private property?
I think that was pretext. That's pretext, because obviously he doesn't see the other houses as private property, because most houses don't have that sign.
Yeah, but so you don't know.
He must assume that that's public property.
It's
available for everyone to walk into.
That must have been the case. But you know what I think probably did happen? All these other properties that were, of course, private property, there probably wasn't a black guy in front of them.
True that. Like when I see situations like this, there's a quote that comes to mind. And this quote comes from D.L. Hughley, and I think he said this on The View. And he said, the most dangerous place for black people to live is in white people's imagination. Now, I don't think that just applies to black people in all cases. I think when we're dealing with the cops, I think that can apply to anybody.
Right.
The most dangerous place is inside a cop's imagination, because the imagination is boundless and endless, and they can assume anything and approach a situation based on a predisposition they have. Now, I'm aware, I'm aware of the necessity that cops have to approach unknown situations with caution. I understand that, but they still have an obligation to make observations when they come to a situation and determine how they're going to engage based on what they've observed. So it's like, once the cop noticed that Atkinson was in possession of a trash grabber and a bucket, that should instantly change how he engages with him. You see what I'm saying? Like, he still had his hand on his waist and his taser, or his gun or whatever. And Atkinson was very visibly and verbally agitated and uncomfortable with that. And the cop was, it wasn't a situation where the cop was like 100 feet away or 50 feet away. That cop was like 5 to 10 feet away from him, saw the bucket, saw the trash clamp and the throat gouger, saw this, but still decided to approach him as if he was violent. Now, why is that? Now, maybe because you know, Atkinson was in that cop's imagination. Or maybe I'm just giving the cop too much leeway. Maybe it was just he wanted to escalate that situation. Maybe the cop wanted to harass Atkinson, even though it was obvious that Atkinson wasn't a danger. The reason I say that is because where did you read that story at?
I read it many places.
Many places.
The Root. I saw it on some. I think it was ABC
News. Yeah, and so like when you read it from different places, it comes with like maybe additional information, and the cop that originally responded to the situation, he said when he made a call for additional assistance for other cops to come, he told the other cops over the radio that Atkinson would not comply, and he had a blunt object. Unwilling to put down a blunt object. That's exactly what he said. Now, at that point in time, it was obvious that he had a trash grabber. So why would he say that?
In a bucket.
In a bucket. So which was the blunt object? The plastic bucket or the trash grabber? That tells me that he wanted to make this situation into something that it wasn't. Because as a cop, if someone radios to me, hey, somebody has a knife or a gun or a blunt object and is being unruly or doesn't want to cooperate, in my mind, before I get there, I'm already set up to deal with somebody who's violent. So that cop knows exactly what he's doing. He's giving those officers that he's summoning to come help him a kind of a false narrative about what's going on. So they come with a particular mindset already.
You can see in the video that he was not dangerous whatsoever. And he actually even displayed the metal trash grabber. You think this is dangerous? He activated the claws. Like, you think that's dangerous, really? And he tossed it away. And then you saw one of the cops. I don't know if you noticed that, but right at the bottom of the screen, there was one cop that came in and actually grabbed the trash grabber away from him. So, you know, he couldn't use that to attack the cops, which I guess he was going to do at any point there. There were 8 cops, I believe, that he started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cops that were there just for his one person that wasn't endangering anybody. This all started, again, keep in mind, this all started because a police officer noticed a man, a black man, that was in an area on a property behind a private property sign. He was in an enclosed area on private property. I don't think these police officers, or particularly this one police officer, I don't think he was employed by this neighborhood or this particular private property, this residence. So why is he policing private property? That's not the police officer's job. If you notice some danger, then yeah, you can do something. But if you see somebody sitting in an area that is designated private personal space, a private property, then what are you doing there accosting them, you know, harassing them, asking them for identification? I need to see your name. I need to know your birth date and all this. And he's like, no, you don't. I'm on my own property. You have no right to come and accost me and cause me all this aggravation because I'm just sitting here minding my own damn business. It makes no sense. This police officer, the first guy that came onto the scene. Now, Boulder Police Chief Greg Testa, he said that officer has been placed on administrative leave, of course, pending an investigation. But you see at the end of that video, too, that obviously there was a calmer-minded cop that tried to talk to him. And he was saying that, hey, you're escalating the situation. Now's not the time or the place to be doing this. You were likely profiled. Yeah, I think he was profiled.
Interesting that he would say that.
Yeah,
he just say you
on
were
tape.
On tape, he would say that.
Yeah, I think he was profiled. I think he was. Because, again, this is private property. It's not the responsibility of a cop to see somebody that is doing normal human things and say that, hey, you look to be doing too much normalcy.
And I don't,
let me know who you are.
And I don't see it as harmful. I know people, bring up the fact that, or, bring up, the idea that he should have just dropped the thing, dropped the bucket and dropped the grabber. So I understand. I don't necessarily see that as a suggestion or a malicious suggestion. But you have to remember, he actually showed them his ID.
Yeah.
So at some point, he had to put down something.
And actually get next to the cop.
He had to get next to the cop. So I think, like, and also we have to kind of look at what the motive is, or look at the motive behind why someone is asked to put something down. They're asked to put something down because it's seen as dangerous. You really think that a bucket and a trash grabber is dangerous as a cop, especially when you're assessing the situation as you come up? So, I mean, I can understand the notion that people put forth, you know, that why didn't he just put it down? But he actually had to put it down because you got to put something down to grab his ID. So he kind of did put it down initially once he showed the cop his ID. The problem came when the cop thinks that the ID is not enough. That's when he starts getting agitated. And what I love about the situation is the white boy in the background who's recording all this, he's getting turned up with Atkinson. You can tell, like, he is getting more agitated as Atkinson is getting agitated, and he busts out this scream, "That's a bullshit!" That John was like, whoa, that was very Howard Deanish. And he said something else too, like he made some other comment, but he got turned up behind, you know, I guess behind the camera and from where he was inside.
This is that bullshit. It is that bullshit. And this is, again, this is just regular human activity, but there's a black person doing it. So it doesn't matter. You know, we've said this many times before. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you are. If you carry around a certain type of pigmentation, then you can be deemed a threat. This guy was just picking up trash with regular equipment that would be used to pick up trash. And he was deemed a threat on private property. It's absolutely nonsense. He of course was profiled. And I don't expect anything to happen. Yeah, there'll be an investigation. He'll be put back on active duty within, what you say, over a week?
Yeah, probably.
Over a week, maybe, something like that?
Again, if they got a call, right, I completely understand, because as a cop, you can't just say, I'm not coming. You have to respond to the call. Like, we have no problem with the cops responding to the call. It's the approach that bothers me. You see what I'm saying? It's the approach that bothers me. And this cop was obviously being very unreasonable and not using discretion based on, like, clearly observable, like, I guess, facts about the situation as he came up on it. So it seems as if he remained hostile. Yeah. So yes, we understand that they have to respond to it because it could be an actual situation. But once you get there, you know, again, because I've actually seen this before, and that's the problem. I've seen it happen before. Cops get there and they're like, what the hell's going on? And guess what happens? Conversation ensues. Everybody's like, ha ha ha, laughs it up. You know, no harm, no foul. I've seen video, not just video, I've actually seen that live in my own life, so I know it happens.
We saw a video, it was not too long ago, probably a few months ago, where there was an apartment and police got called to the apartment because of loud noise. And they came in and there was these young men that were playing a video game. The cop actually started playing the video game. Yeah. So it's very reasonable. It's very possible for the cops that would have shown up and saw what was going on to be like, we need to go, man. There's nothing going on.
And be like, yo, man, like, look, we don't know who made the call. I don't know. We just got a dispatch. And we had to come out here. I'm like, man, I see you picking up trash. And just kind of start a conversation. And it could have been that easy. And I don't think, like, Atkinson would have felt as threatened or as put upon, because again, that cop looked real aggressive. It just looked like when he made his threat assessment, he determined the threat level was just like way up there.
You have to really envision how this came to be. This officer approaches him, asks him for ID. He gives him the ID. Now, if he had these, you know, this equipment in his hands, probably he would have put at least one of them down, got his wallet or whatever like that, pulled it out, and then probably went back to doing whatever he was doing, because he didn't get his ID back at the point that this video was being recorded. So he just went back to cleaning up. And then this police officer decided to have a problem and escalate the situation. This is a travesty, man. This is absolutely inexcusable.
Again, like, there's some people who join police for the wrong reasons, and there's some people who join the police force for the right reasons. Yeah. And there's some that join the police force because they want action. Like we covered a story where like I don't know whether he was a sergeant or lieutenant, captain, whatever, and he was overheard saying like during some sort of chase, like we live for this.
Right, I remember.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the wrong reason to get involved in law enforcement. Like if you want to approach situations that are dangerous and solve them, that's cool. But you don't create those situations. You go into it trying to diffuse situations. When you have cops going in there,
If you're looking for an adrenaline
rush.
If that's why you're a police officer,
You're going to try to create situations, you know what I'm saying, that will end up making your adrenaline rush. And the only way to do that is to manipulate those situations to happen.
and see what isn't there.
And see what's in your imagination.
All right, let's move on to, there's an update to a story that we did. A sixth grade boy in New York City who was arrested after getting into a dispute with a substitute teacher over not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. His case has been dismissed, so that is very good news. The boy's name is Jabari Talbot, and when we cover the story, I can go back over the details a little bit. He had refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the substitute teacher's dismay, she couldn't understand why he wasn't doing this. She was trying to tell him to do it, but he would not. He refused, so she called the main office to have him removed. There was no altercation that ensued inside the classroom, but when he was taken out by the police, supposedly there was some type of altercation. There was some type of something that happened, and it was spurred
Verbal
by
resistance.
Yeah, verbal resistance. Yeah, it was it was not physical.
Not
they
physical,
said
yeah.
they said he didn't physically resist arrest, but they did say that he had made a threat on the teacher, like threatened to beat her up or something.
Yeah, I would too.
So
I probably would have too.
So again, he was arrested for that, and it seemed as though this case was going to be easily resolved, but that was with the thought that this family and this boy was going to be acceptive of a plea deal, a plea agreement in which he would admit fault, and presumably he would have gotten maybe something like probation, maybe a fine, maybe some community service, something like that.
Yeah.
But the family rejected that offer. They didn't want anything to do with that because they felt like this boy was not the reason why they were there. He did nothing wrong. And I tend to believe them. I tend to agree with them. This boy had the right to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It wasn't even school policy for everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So he did nothing wrong.
It's in the school handbook.
Yes.
It's in the school handbook.
School handbook.
That says students can't be forced to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So this situation was sparked by teacher insubordination.
Yeah.
So like
teacher not following the rules.
Teacher not following the rules. So whatever came from that, should be on the teacher and on the school and not on the student, regardless of how emotional the student got. And it wasn't just the student being emotional because the teacher was trying to force him to stand up and honor the Pledge of Allegiance, but because the teacher was being antagonistic as well. So that's where the emotion came from. So this grown person was being antagonistic to a sixth grader, and now they're trying to hold the sixth grader accountable for how the situation turned out.
Look, things are about to get really uncomfortable in the United States of America because these generations that are growing up, they're going to be growing up with an education about America's past and about America's current present day history or just the current day events of what's going on right now. My daughter is not at that age where we have really meaningful conversation, like about the events that are transpiring across this country and across this world yet. It's getting there, but we're not there yet. Best believe that when it does get there, though, at a young age, I will be educating her about what has happened in the past and what has happened, what is going on right now. It's going to be an uncomfortable history lesson, something that she's not going to get in the schools. So I'm not going to project onto her. I'm not going to force her to do something like not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or not stand for the national anthem, but I will give her a history about it, and especially the national anthem. I've talked about the national anthem many times, so she's definitely going to hear what I feel about that and why it is racist. But your national anthem, your Confederate statues, you can continue holding on to them as long as you want. And not exactly, I'm not talking to our viewers, but just people across this country that seem to really want to hold on to that very, very ugly type of history. Keep doing it. Okay, keep doing it. But an uncomfortable future is coming. Like I said, these children are going to be educated to the past and the present. And I don't think you're gonna like it. I don't think they're gonna like it.
But see, like this particular situation, I think a movement was sparked by what Jay-Z's group, Rock Nation. They got involved in the case, and all of a sudden it gets dismissed. Now, I'm glad his group got involved, but he can't be involved in every case.
No.
You see what I'm saying? It won't happen in every case. But I do like the fact that Jay-Z used his influence, used his celebrity to help somebody out. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too.
So I think that's why people like Laura Ingraham and people on Fox News say things like "shut up and dribble," because they hate when people use their power in order to stand up for people who don't have power. That's why they hate Kaepernick. That's why they hate LeBron James.
Right. And
that's why they don't like Jay-Z. That's why they say things like "shut up and dribble."
Right. Because you're coming from maybe not a privileged background, but you have privileged status right now. So what are you complaining about? It's not just see, they're doing the most American thing that you can think of. They're actually advocating for people that are lesser than, that don't have the platform that they have. They don't have the big microphone that they have. But you want them to shut up? But if it was for something that they agreed with, though, they'd be cheering them on. J.J. Watt? Oh, yeah, he's doing great things, right? After the hurricane hit Texas, of course, he's doing great things, raising money for the people, and he's doing great things. Like, and I agree. I totally agree. But there are other people that are actually trying to move this country in the right direction that are being vilified by people like Laura Ingraham. All right. The campaigns of Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, both of them have stated that they are on track to qualify for the first Democratic debate set to be in June. So we don't know exactly what the requirements are going to be after that initial debate. But it's good news that they both seem to be on track to be on that stage. It's going to be interesting.
Yo,
it's going to be really interesting.
It's going to get real hot under the collar because, to be honest, I got to be honest about their chances. I don't think that they have a chance. I just don't. I think it's slim. Now, I can't say that definitively until after the first couple of debates. But just from the way it's looking, doesn't look like they have a shot. The numbers just don't do them any favors. But their inclusion is still important, right? Because I do think that their presence will definitely push the conversation. Their inclusion in these debates will definitely push the conversation to places that it wouldn't go if they weren't there. Because even like Bernie being there is one thing, and I do think he pushes the needle a little bit. But see, like any competition that Bernie has, they've already been warmed up already. They've had 2.5 years to prepare for Bernie Sanders. So I think they know what they got to do. And I do think that Yang and Williamson actually push the needle a little bit further than Bernie does. And I think that's a good thing because now they're going to, have some conversations that maybe some other candidates want to avoid.
I don't know about the likelihood of them becoming the Democratic nominee. Of course, right now, we're in the beginning of March. It doesn't look like they have much of a chance because on the national scale, just on the national scheme of things, or the national scene of things, they're not really talked about. When you see a projection of who is going to garner support in these debates or on the way to the nomination, when you even see a chart of who is running for the presidential nomination, the Democratic presidential nomination, usually they're not even anywhere on the chart. I just saw one just recently today, and there were 12 individuals on that chart. and they were nowhere near it. Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson. So in total, I believe right now, who has announced for president in 2020, there are 14 candidates, including Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson. Now that does not include Beto O'Rourke and Biden. So I'm not sure who else will get involved. Actually, there is some news. Michael Bloomberg, he said that he is not going to run for president. And also Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio, he said that he has not run for president. So those are two names, maybe Bloomberg being lesser than, but there was significant, rumors about Sherrod Brown getting involved. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who else is gonna throw their name in the ring, but I think it probably will only get up to about 16, maybe 17. I can't. The other possible candidates, I don't really see getting involved. It's Biden and O'Rourke, I think. But what I do know is that Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson, if they do make it to that first debate, man, I don't know. I think the sky's the limit for them, actually. Because, again, they have not been really heard on a national level. This is going to give them an opportunity. This is going to give them a platform to actually speak. And like you said, they are going to go places where other candidates are not comfortable going. So we know that benefited Bernie Sanders in 2016 because he was offering something that was very different to what Hillary Clinton was trying to promote. And that garnered him much, much, much support. Now, the field is much, much, much larger right now. And when you think about if there's like 16 candidates, because I believe the Democratic Party has said that they're going to limit the debates to 20 people that can be on the stage. Now, the initial requirements that you have to attain to be on the stage, you have to have 65,000 individuals that donate to your campaign with a minimum of 200 donors apiece in 20 states. So that's the initial requirement. There's also a requirement saying that candidates must get at least 1% support in a 3-party approved public poll. In public polls. So then this is from Politico. It says if there are more than 20 candidates who pass one of those thresholds, only candidates who meet both polling and fundraising criteria will be given primacy, with the large debate field randomly split into 2 groups over 2 nights. So if it did get to a point where we're reaching more than 20 candidates, this would be split up into 2 different nights. But I don't think that's actually a reality, or a real possibility.
Yeah, because like I think a debate stage that has 20 people on it, it would bog down the debate. We wouldn't get anywhere. The debate would have to last like 3 or 4 hours.
But see, even with the amount that we have right now, we have 12 that are running. Now, we don't know if they're all going to qualify. We have to put that out there. But let's say all 12, all 14, including Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson, let's say they all qualify for that first debate. You're going to have 14, possibly 16 with Beto and Biden on the stage. I still think to actually make it productive, you would have to go at least 3 hours. You would have to go at least 3 hours. Now, I would not mind that whatsoever.
Because the debates between 2 people go an hour.
At
least.
Yeah, at
an
least
hour
an
or 2.
Hour. Yeah. 14, 16 people. We'll see. Like I said, this is going to be very interesting. And I'm very excited to see both of them on the stage because Andrew Yang, he's somebody that talks a lot about basic income. He's made that a significant portion of his candidacy. And that's something that I don't know if any other candidate is actually making, a significant policy idea. Actually, Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, they about a week ago or so, they actually did like a joint kind of I don't know if I call it an interview, but they spoke on camera. I believe it was on the Zoom platform actually, but they spoke for about an hour or so, just talking about different things, and that was really interesting to see because you're talking about 2 candidates for the Democratic presidential nomination. Usually, there's this feeling that you don't really want to endorse somebody else. You don't want to be seen as like supportive of somebody else's candidacy because what does that say about you? But they're not taking that approach. They do like each other's ideas, and I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. So
We're being asked in the comment section to talk about Bernie Sanders and give our analysis. I think we should do that periodically based on appearances he's made. I haven't had a chance to watch his entire speech that he gave in Chicago. I watched a little bit of it. I think I mentioned it. I think we mentioned it in the last show. He has an event going on right now, I think, and I've kind of read some comments that say they're kind of dividing their attention between the show and Bernie Sanders. We might have something to say the next show about it. But yeah, we'll take that in mind.
All right, so let's get to the last story of the night. And this is, of course, going to be a shout out to Sav, right?
Yes.
Sav wanted an LTMB dummy of the day.
He called the show on Tuesday.
Yeah, and specifically requested.
So and, we will do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll do it. We don't have an introduction to it, but we'll try to make one. So I'll just be like, doom 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 doom. You big dummy. I guess that's the intro right there.
That is low budget.
That's low budget. That's no budget.
That's no budget. All right, so I'm sure people are familiar with Joanne Reed. She is a host on MSNBC. She can be considered as somebody that is supportive of the establishment agenda. She
goes out of her way to do that.
Yeah, she has a lot of criticism for progressive politics.
Yeah.
So on Twitter recently, she promoted an idea. Yeah. She promoted an idea, something that I guess just occurred to her.
She had a hot take.
Yeah, this was about the 2020 election and maybe a particular candidate that might resonate with millennials.
The youngins.
The youngins. So on Twitter, she said, millennial voters, by the time this election happens in 2020, will be the majority of voters. And those millennials grew up with Obama and Biden. So there is a comfort level they will have with Joe Biden that is different from Bernie Sanders or Beto O'Rourke.
Oh, she put Beto in there. Now, okay. Now, if she was just talking about, Obama or just talking about Biden, she put Beto in there, which is kind of weird. And she talked about Beto having a certain comfort level with millennials. All right. Biden, maybe I can see it, but she's only talking about Biden in that way because of Obama. So she's doing this she's making the Obama swag transference mistake. You see what I'm saying? Because if we're talking about Obama, he came with a certain level of newness, charisma. He was superficially different. He didn't get triggered by criticism. He dealt with that smoothly from the opposition. So I can see how, those traits would resonate with everybody, including young people. But you can't magically, project those traits onto Biden. You know what I'm saying? And Biden wasn't in the spotlight. So I don't know where this comfort level would have developed in the first place. You see what I'm saying? Biden was really nowhere to be seen as a vice president.
You're being a little too kind. I think you're being a little too kind. Joe Biden, again, he was the VP under Barack Obama for 8 years. The VP. Vice presidents are usually not seen.
Ghosts.
They're usually ghosts. From time to time, and it's rare, under the vice president under the president right now, Mike Pence, the VP, you see him from time to time. Sometimes he will have to make an appearance in the Senate to cast a deciding vote. He'll do speeches in other countries or even here. A lot of times he's right beside the president when the president is signing some legislation or doing something. But largely he is ignored by the media. And that's historically how it goes with vice presidents. So to transfer what Obama had with millennial voters, because again, if Obama was running again as a candidate,
that would make sense.
Then you would say that, these millennial voters, they did grow up with Obama as the president, and he does have tremendous support. So you would assume that he would have that support again. But to transfer that support to the VP who was nowhere to be seen on a very large level, is crazy. This is the dumbest thing in the world. This is really stupid.
And it's not dumb because she's dumb. Because if you consistently watch her, there are times where, you know, she can be real smart, insightful. She's kind of intellectually capable of delivering a logical, coming to logical conclusions. I've seen it. So this definitely is coming from a different place. It's just like she was trying to wish it to be true. So I just don't understand how somebody who can be sensible in certain moments can have such a bad take, which means it's coming from some other place. And like you kind of said at the introduction, she kind of, I guess, runs interference for establishment candidates. Right. And she did that for Hillary Clinton. And she antagonized Bernie Sanders and his supporters. So pretty much she just pulled this straight out of her ass. I think she was just saying it because she wished it to be true. You know, when I read takes like this, you know, there's a voice in my head, you know, reading that disclaimer that says this message is brought to you in part by blah, blah, blah. That's what I was like, that's the message that went through my head. This message is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Because it was so dumb, because it had to be coming from that place because it was so nonsensical.
If the millennial support from Barack Obama, the support that he accumulated over his time as the president of the United States, if that is transferred to Joe Biden, then you could probably say that about anybody that was in Obama's cabinet. You could say the same thing about Eric Holder, who was looked at as a contender for 2020. You could say that about Loretta Lynch. You could pick any member of the Obama cabinet because, you know what? And man, my mistake. I actually picked figures that were more noticeable than Joe Biden.
Exactly.
The attorney generals. This is dumb. And you know what? And this causes me to actually get into Joe Biden. The effort to propel Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who just months ago, before the midterm elections, showed up in Michigan, showed up to support a Republican in Michigan's 6th congressional district. This was a re-election campaign for Representative Fred Upton. The far-right Republican Fred Upton. Oh, I skipped the far-right Fred Upton. Joe Biden showed up for him, actually gave a speech, was paid $200,000
don't forget
for
that
speech. Can't forget that. But he actually showed up to propel this man to victory, and he did win, but by a very slim margin, by about half a percentage point. The Democratic Party did not want Biden to do it. Now, if he didn't want to support the Democrat in the race, I wouldn't have nothing bad to say about him, nothing negative to say, because of course you're not going to just go around endorsing every single candidate across the United States of America. So if you wanted to stay out of it, cool. But he actually showed up and supported Fred Upton, somebody that is to the far right, somebody that is against abortion, against a woman's right to choose, against the ACA, voted against it many times, has an A+ rating from the NRA. Again, this is a far right guy, but Joe Biden activated himself for $200,000 to propel him to victory. And I have to note that we heard 2 years ago. No, this is over 2 years ago now. We heard after Bernie Sanders did not come away with the Democratic nomination, we heard that he was not doing enough for the Democratic Party. He was not doing enough for the Democratic nominee in Hillary Clinton to get her nominated, or to get her elected into office. He didn't do enough. That type of narrative has followed him in 2019 when he announced for president. People are still using that same narrative. It's Bernie's fault. He didn't do enough. You have Joe Biden, who actually showed up for a Republican, but the establishment, MSNBC, they feel fine with promoting Joe Biden, somebody that didn't do the Democratic Party any favors back in the midterms.
Now, you're talking about a specific situation, but what about now? Has he given a hint to what his platform would look like?
Who, Biden?
Now. He really hasn't.
No.
He really hasn't. There's just been a lot of speculation out there that he's running for president. He's putting together a team and all this stuff, and he's getting ready to announce. But there's nothing really substantial about what kind of platform he would have. So why this rush to judgment about what group he would appeal to. And if you're going to talk about a specific group, she better have something like to point to that would connect Biden to that group. Has he come out in favor of like the Green New Deal?
Not to my
Has
knowledge.
he come out in favor of Medicare for All? Has he come out in favor of tuition assistance? Something that kind of would affect millennials and those younger than millennials. You see what I'm saying?
How about legalizing marijuana?
Exactly. So it was like, where is he at on those things? If she isn't drawing some sort of connection. She's just pulling that out of her ass.
She's
that
drawing
Obama,
the Obama
connection. And
he hasn't done anything.
And even if you're drawing from Obama and making that connection, wages are still the same and tuition is going up, which is something that millennials and people who are younger than millennials would kind of care about most, and it's not there for Biden. So like what she's telling me is Biden's platform is so weak that she has to focus his appeal on the superficial concept of comfort.
Yep. Emptiness.
Emptiness.
Her argument is completely empty. Somebody like Joe Biden and somebody like Hillary Clinton. Just on Tuesday, we talked about how Hillary Clinton recently said that she was not going to run in 2020. And it really wasn't news, even though a lot of people were speculating that she probably would still do it. In 2017, she said she was done with elected office. But she again made that statement just a few days ago. If she did run again, and if Biden runs again, think about what they are as a candidate. In 2016, Hillary Clinton was totally against the idea of Medicare for All. She was not supportive of legalizing marijuana. She was not a progressive whatsoever. Has she changed? I haven't noticed anything because she has been somewhat visible. She's been somewhat visible. She hasn't been like, keeping herself in a corner somewhere or anything like that. She's made some appearances. I haven't heard her profess any new ideology. I haven't heard her change her rhetoric one bit. So think about what she would be as a candidate in 2020, what Joe Biden will or would be in 2020. This is a country and this is a Democratic Party that seems to have passed them by and has gotten more progressive. Kamala Harris. Actually, I'm not even going to name them. Most Democratic candidates support the idea of Medicare for All. Most presidential candidates support the idea of legalizing marijuana. Most presidential candidates support the idea of doing something about criminal justice reform and mass incarceration. I don't think these aren't ideas that you're going to see with the candidate Joe Biden. I don't.
No, and again,
maybe I'll be surprised, right? I don't know.
And he's already effing up, and not just with how he approached that midterm race.
Right.
He's already effing up lately. In response to that, kind of being very indignant and condescending to people's criticisms of it.
Think about how dumb he would be, though. I mean, you really have to think about how dumb he is, because in 2016, when Bernie and Hillary were debating, a large concentration was put on Hillary Clinton's speaking fees. Hey, we want the transcripts to those speeches because we want to see what you told all these different people, what you told Wall Street. We really want to see the transcripts. Can you provide them for us? And Joe Biden, right before the midterms, he gives a speech for a Republican and gets paid $200,000 for it. So you just willingly put yourself in that conversation. I don't think at this point, I don't know if anybody else has done that is running for president. I don't know if that's going to be a focus in this race. But if Joe Biden enters, best believe it will be. Best believe.
But how does this comfort kind of, what Joanne Reed inserted into the conversation concerning comfort, how does that apply to O'Rourke, though? How does that apply to Beto O'Rourke, who kind of made a name for himself just recently? Like, to include Beto in there makes it even more silly. You know what I'm saying?
Beto has millennial support. He does?
Okay. Because he's young. Because he's young and cool and does a skateboard thing? Does he skateboard or something?
He's in a band. He takes video while he's at the dentist.
Live streams from the dentist, yo. That's that's
much.
cutting edge outreach right there.
That is cutting edge.
Cutting edge outreach.
I'm gonna take
When
you
li-
inside.
I'm gonna take you inside the dentist.
I'm gonna take you inside
my mouth. Uh-oh, that was a Diamond and Silk moment.
Tell him. Oh man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that junk is mad funny. I just don't see a lot of millennials getting on Snapchat talking about how Biden is, the shit. I just don't see that. Snapchatting back and forth. Like, I just don't see a lot of that.
When I see Biden memes,
Biden Snapchat.
Yeah, when I see Biden memes,
Biden
they're not in a positive light.
No,
they're not in a positive light.
And like the memes that you did see were like making fun of his kind of creeperishness, and maybe his coolness a bit, but that didn't last long.
No, it didn't. No, it did not. A lot of people are focusing on how creepy of a guy he is, and how he's kind of touchy-feely, and how it rubs off on people the wrong way. So we'll see. We'll see if the guy gets involved.
Oh man, yeah, Moose Gal. That's
not breaking news.
That's not really breaking news. They haven't even really. There's not been an investigation that has kind of done yet to determine whether that's true or not.
It's coming from a conservative watchdog group.
Yeah.
And again, there's no evidence that
she personally did something. It was her.
No. There's no evidence that even her, what is her campaign chair?
Aide. It was like no. It was yeah. I think it was her campaign chair. I can't remember the exact position.
He's the one that I believe he's the one that launched the Justice Democrats and a brand new Congress.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name right off the bat or anything like that. But yeah, they're alleging that he took money that was donated to the campaign and he moved it into a corporation, into an LLC. And that actually is not illegal. It's not illegal whatsoever. But simply because that was done, I guess there are, like, if you move it into an LLC, there's less transparency requirements. And simply because of that, not because of anything else, because of that, this watchdog, this conservative watchdog group is alleging that something inappropriate is going on. So they informed the FEC about it. Yeah. And now there might be an investigation. But again, there's nothing there as of right now that suggests that anything wrong was
Not
done.
only is like there's nothing that suggests anything wrong occurred, but let's just say it did. Like, how does that directly involve Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
That's true.
That's the question I have, because it said facing jail time. I'm really not sure of her connection to his actions, if they were done without her knowledge, if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying that right now.
You know why they're going after her? Because she kind of put herself on the map during that Cohen testimony. Chief of Staff, yes, that was correct. Who was that? Who was that? Who was it?
Well,
Chief of
Chief of Staff.
Yes, yeah, Sharon. Yeah, Sharon, Chief of Staff. So yeah, like, I guarantee you, if Ocasio-Cortez didn't make a name for herself on that Cohen testimony, being on her square, being very direct, and not grandstanding like a lot of the Democrats were, guarantee you, if she wasn't there, which wouldn't have happened because she has to be there, because if that wouldn't have happened, these allegations wouldn't have come forth. This is deflection. They're trying to muddy the waters.
Oh yeah,
that's what they're trying to do.
Because we saw there was a CNN panel, and I kind of briefly mentioned it on the last show, where they were talking about Biden, and they were also talking about Hillary Clinton. And even though they were supportive of Hillary Clinton in 2016, they wanted nothing to do with her in 2020. And that was not because they have lost their support for Hillary Clinton. They just know that she's a divisive figure, and that probably the party has, passed her by. With Biden, they were like, no, he's old news. We want somebody else. But what they had to say about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was that basically she's a rock star. We love her. We love what she's doing. We love what she's bringing into the Congress. We love her. We love her. We love her. Respect her. We love her. So she's 29 years old right now. Mm-hmm. She's not going to be old enough to run for president in 2020. She's not going to be old enough to run for president in 2024. But she will be old enough to run for president in 2028. Best believe the establishment wing of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they will probably be doing everything that they can to try to suppress her message, try to suppress her effectiveness, try to suppress the amount of support that she can accumulate. Because again, if people are right now, again, she's one of the most visible members in the United States Congress, and that includes the Senate as well, both bodies of Congress. So if she's just 2 months in,
And she's doing all this
2 months in,
and making all this noise,
and she has all this love, all this support.
Who was hosting? Who was hosting that segment? Was it Poppy Harlow? Who was it? And it wasn't a blonde person.
No, it was Allison
Cameron.
Camarota.
Camarota.
Yeah,
Okay.
Allison Camarota.
And yo, like, it didn't seem like they did some sort of preliminary research on any of these people, because she looked genuinely surprised with their answers.
Yeah, she did. Again, like I said, that's 2028. That's a long time from now. No doubt that's a long time from now. That's almost 10 years. That's 9 years from now. It's a long time. She would have to stay relevant. And, of course, that's hard to do. But if she continues doing the same thing that she has been doing, if she continues to stand up for people, if she continues actually representing people over corporate interests, then just like Bernie Sanders, that support is going to stay with her, and it actually is just going to grow. So by 2028, watch out.
It's a different world now, man.
Jeremy Christian said she can run in 2024. She will turn 35 between the election and inauguration. I wonder if that's right.
I thought about that, because, she is, 29? And so...
I think I've
when
seen that.
When's her birthday? Because I think it has to do. It doesn't have to do when she has to, because you have to file paperwork and stuff like that. I think that's when you have to be of age.
I'm not sure if it's like that where you have to turn 35
before you get for inauguration. I think it's more you have to be 35.
Yeah, because you have to actually file the paperwork. To run.
You have to qualify, and then that's connected to whether you qualify or not.
Let's see. Yeah, well, this article says that she can run. It's per the Constitution, she can run at 20. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to the office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and be 14 years a resident within the United States. That doesn't say anything about when.
Yeah, doesn't specify
when you have to be 35. Is it?
So he might be right.
Maybe it's right.
He might be right.
Maybe it's right. Oh man, that should scare people even more. Damn, that's only like 5 years. So we're talking about after this next presidency.
Boy, I'm trying to release some of these comments from being censored. Yeah, let's open it up for calls. Hopefully there'll be some good calls tonight.
But then, it still might be 2028 if a Democratic nominee wins.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Still might be 2028.
Because they're not going to challenge the sitting
president. No, she wouldn't do that. I know she wouldn't do that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No matter which one of them actually got elected, I don't think they would be so far to the middle or right that she would, oppose them like that. Yeah. All right. So, now's the time to hear from you. If you do want to join the conversation, all you have to do is, it seems silly to say pick up the phone. Pick up your phone and dial, because it's like so simple now. You just pick up. Anyway, you gotta press on your screen. tap on your
Tap
screen.
on your screen. Yeah,
Like,
true
what
that.
about, 9 times? It's 669-900-6833. We would love to hear from you and what you have to say about many of the topics that we have discussed on tonight's program.
Or
Yeah.
topics that we haven't discussed.
True.
That, you know what I'm saying? You might want to bring up.
You did say that Bernie Sanders was having an event.
Yeah, in Iowa.
So,
A lot of people who were watching the show are actually watching that too.
So
Maybe
if
that's where a
you-
lot of people are right now who aren't watching the show.
If you have any information about that or anything like that you'd like to talk about, we can definitely do that. We do have our first call. Oh, dropped off. Caller dropped off. We were just getting ready to take that call. All right. All right. So, all right, we have a couple calls in the queue now. Let me make sure we can hear you before we bring you on. All right. So I believe the first caller that showed up was 214 area code. Caller, you are on the air live with LTMB. How are you doing tonight?
Hey guys, I'm doing very well. It's share information from the chat.
Sure. Nice to hear from you.
Y'all are nice to be here, guys. I just found you guys last weekend and don't know where I've been for the last 3 years. I know y'all been doing a lot of content.
Right.
But I had a comment and a question.
Okay.
Oh, and I wanted to thank you real quick for turning me on to the straight up feel the burn video. That shit was lit.
Yeah.
But the comment that I had was that, you know, it really doesn't matter whether or not AOC or her chief of staff is ever found guilty of this because the seed has already been planted. It's being spewed and regurgitated over and over and over at all these different conservative sites. So it's already there. I mean, you still have people who think that Jane Sanders was convicted of defrauding that college, and that bullshit. That bullshit investigation was thrown out last year. It never went anywhere, and it was started by one of Trump goons by the name of Brady Tunsing, who just basically all you got to do is just make an accusation, and the right wing will run with it. So that was my comment. The question that I had for you guys is that I wanted to get y'all's opinion on the ADOS movement. From my research and what I can gather, it seems as though it's a movement that, and some say that it was initiated by Russian bots. It may be a Hillary thing. I don't know where it's originating from, but from what I can tell is that it is being used to try to trick black people into not voting at all or to voting for Republicans. And I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that, and I'll take comments off air. Thanks. Y'all keep up the fight. Never stop fighting.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Sharon.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. So we know. I think most people have probably heard about that ADOS movement she's talking about, American Descendants of Slavery. Look, I'll be very honest. I haven't delved very deep into it. I definitely have a general understanding of it. For me, I know there's a lot of criticism about it. I know there's a lot of questions about where it originated from, if it's doing more harm than good. There's a lot of questions about it. For me, it doesn't seem to be anything new. Because there has always been a movement for reparations in this country. Now, it has been, I guess, the voices that have been trying to make that known in the United States of America, try to highlight the need for it, or trying to highlight the case for it, why we need it as a country, why it is, why it should be a right, why we should go about the business of doing it. People have already been doing that for years, for decades. So I don't think that this is anything new. I just don't see that this is anything new. It has a new name, but like I said, people have always been fighting for reparations. So
no, I do think there is a high possibility that there will be groups out there that will mimic, the organizations that have been pushing for this for years. I just don't put it past outside forces to mimic the activities of these groups and, I guess, seed a bit of irrational dissent amongst certain people to influence, the decisions that they make as far as who they vote for. Like, I can see that happening. Like, that movement, like you said, has been around since,
I don't know when it started.
It's
but
all,
yeah,
like, so that's been
forever.
that's been kind of like, it's just more known now.
Right.
Now, I think there might be groups out there that are kind of fronting. There might be groups out there only designed to sow discord amongst people. And it's just up to us to make the distinction between, like, what groups are the legitimate ones and what groups are just fronts designed to sow discord,
right.
And just and kind of be very irrational. So it is a real movement, and I mean, I don't, you know, I've kind of delved into some of them, been paying attention to them. They've been around since before 2017, 18, and 19. They've always been around. It's just that they're getting more, I guess, more visible because of the conversation. Right. So it's just, the point should just be to, like, look out for which ones are kind of being unnecessarily antagonistic and unreasonable.
All right, so let's go to the next caller. That's from the 980 area code. Call, you're on the air live with LTMB.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on, Will? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Yeah, this is Will from North Carolina. I'm doing good. Yeah, I had a couple of things to talk about. One thing is, I think that we have to be working on building something different, parallel to the current system. That can at some point replace it and make it obsolete. You know, the state's going to play a big role in the changes that will be made in the future as far as our socioeconomic changes. And either, you know, it'll just be made obsolete, or it will try to stay relevant by conforming to something that makes sense, because it's just so whack right now. It's ridiculous.
Well, hold on, Will. You're being a little ambiguous about the system. What are you exactly talking about? That changes need to be made, or we need to develop something that goes on the, you know, that runs alongside of it? What exactly are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm talking about mainly economically, but when I say create social, let me put it this way, we need to create social apparatus that does what we need it to do, does what the people need it to do, and do that ourselves. Like, we don't have to force people. If there's people in power right now that are keeping that power because they have guns, they're not going to give it up. So if you can't change the system that way, which, you know, I'd like to be hopeful. I like to be hopeful and think that, you know, our traditional, the way our system works with, you know, government, and or institutions that have been here, you know, they've all become corrupted. And I like to think that there could be a reformation, but if we just take a look at history, history is not in favor of that happening, and what I see right now is not in favor of that happening. So I think that, like I said, that we have to know what the goal is, and we have to go about one way or another trying to achieve that goal, and make progress where we can. And if that means that we end up making, you know, the system that's in place now obsolete, then that'll be the way we get rid of it. But it's completely obsolete. It's crazy. These people are nuts. Like, I mean, look at the power that Nancy Pelosi has, for instance, or Donald Trump. Most people in this country don't like either one of them one bit. How are they maintaining that power? And that list can go on and on and on. I mean, there's corruption, so it's incumbent upon everybody. You know, I agree. I like what you said the last time we talked. I completely agree with you when you say we can't blame leaders and oligarchs, you know, and you're right. They're doing what people do. We're doing what people do. And we need to understand that, and it's not a blame game. There is nobody to blame. This is what we've done. You know, this is what's happened with our species, and rather than allow the people who are in charge tell us what we have to do to get rid of them, we just do what we need to do. You know, we don't have to. We have to transcend it a little bit, because if they're entrenched to the point where we're not going to be able to deal with them, you know, we're playing by their rules and they've got the game rigged. You know, we just don't play their game anymore.
Well, like you said,
that's what we have to do at some point.
Well, look, there's definitely changes that need to be made. You know, there's a definite conversation that we need to have about how we go about the business of doing that. There are many ideas, but hopefully as time goes by, voices that are trying to do the right thing will be elevated, and we'll all be better for it, man. So I agree with what you're saying, man. We're going to have to move on. We have a lot of people in the queue, but we appreciate you calling in, man. We haven't heard from you in a little while.
Yeah, I've been a little busy. I appreciate it, fellas. You have a good night.
All right, you have a good night, Will.
Later.
All right, so let's go to, I believe, 562 area code. Call, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, Mike and Will.
Saab.
It's me, Saab.
What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
I remember your name, Will. I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah, man. You had to correct that, right?
Like how you pointing that out.
You know what I'm saying,
you know what I'm saying? Like
an accomplishment.
Your cookies in the mail. Cookies in the mail, bro.
I did the Urkel dance today for a present for a friend. Like it was. That's why I said G-O-Y, because I kept on thinking about Urkel the whole time. Yeah. Okay.
All right, man. What do you have for us tonight, man?
Okay, I have one question. Well, two questions actually. Okay. But I'll make sure they're quick. Hypothetical, because since Trump is like being under investigation, and it may look like he's going to be impeached sometime. Do you think, or if he doesn't, do you think that there will be any Republican that poses a threat for him to be reelected, like actually challenges him in the primary?
No.
Yeah. My second question, I'm just going to ask you right off of that.
Go ahead.
How do you think the third party chances are for this general election coming up?
Third party chances and
Trump's chances, Republican opposition.
Okay.
I think with the election of Trump, we got to look at like where their party has gone. And so what I'm seeing is it's hard to come back from Trump. It's going to be very hard for the Republican Party to come back from Trump or offer something like completely different than Trump, regardless of what happens, regardless of whether he gets impeached or not. So whoever they offer up after Trump, like, how is that person going to look? You see what I'm saying? Because they rejected Rubio, they rejected Jeb Bush. Who else was in that lineup?
It doesn't matter.
They rejected the chick from was the woman, yeah. Hewlett Packard.
Yeah, Carly.
Was that from North Carolina, I believe.
Carly Fiorina.
Fiorina. So like all these people they rejected because they were very lackluster, and they kind of represented that old guard. I don't think that Trump has kind of brought anybody in his administration that isn't old guard, but at least since Trump is the face, it gives the appearance that he's some sort of like new revolutionary figure. But like I don't know where the party goes after Trump. Like,
well, see, well, you're going after like I guess he is not reelected.
No. I'm saying like no. I mean after anything. Like if if there's a challenger, or if he gets impeached, where they go after that still matters.
Oh, well,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know, like who can challenge. That's what I'm trying to say. Like who is there that can kind of match that same kind of like Trump energy like they bring. That's what I'm going. I just don't know if anyone's there.
I don't see that anybody's going to oppose him if he doesn't get impeached. Now, if he does get impeached, of course somebody's got to step up. Will it be Mike Pence? Will it be somebody else? So that, you know, what you're saying, like who could it possibly be that comes in after Trump? Like what would you have to do to be? Would you have to be somewhat Trump-like, or would you have to be the antithesis to what Trump is? I mean, that's a question. I don't know. But to your second question about third parties and if they are, I guess, viable for 2020, does not look like it. And that's a really short answer. I haven't heard really any noise about, you know, who could possibly be the Green Party's nominee, or even Libertarian. So it's probably a little bit early for that right now.
Yeah, because they're usually strapped for cash, so they don't kind of insert themselves into the race as early as say kind of party nominate. Like, well, I wouldn't say party, but
the two parties,
the two major parties, because they don't have the money to stick it out that long. So we probably won't see them until like the end of summer.
Yeah, but then again, just think about where we are right now. Okay, in 2016, it was a very polarized type of situation. You had polarizing figures, Trump and Hillary Clinton. You had a situation where people were screaming for another candidate, but you had the two candidates that had very high unfavorables. If a third party candidate couldn't make a lot of noise in that type of scenario, then we don't have the same type of scenario in 2020. We don't have that type of landscape. So I think they have less of a chance. So
yeah, right.
That's not welcome news, but like I said, I just think that's the truth.
We're not here to kind of, you know, make people feel, I guess, good.
Yeah.
We're not here to do that. We're not going to like develop.
Yeah, you're trying to offer the truth.
Yeah, I'm just like that's
yeah.
We wish it to be true, but simply because we wish it to be true does not mean that that's how reality is playing out. And how reality is playing out is not.
What's that old saying? Don't put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, we're not.
I heard that from somebody recently.
Really, I've
never actually said it.
Yeah, we just have to accept it.
Yeah, I know that's what people want to hear, but we're not going to kind of play to the itching ear of what people desire and what people want to hear. So we just don't see third parties being viable.
Okay.
Not in this system. Not in this system. I mean, if you listen to the last call, Will said that we have to, construct a system outside of the system, another system. So if that's true, then third party will not ever be viable in a two-party system. So.
And we don't have the system that allows for it anyway, because we have the Electoral College, which does not allow for three competitive races, or a competitive three-person race. It doesn't allow for that. But anyway, I hope we answered your questions. We did it to the best of our ability, Sav. We thank you for calling in again.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Or night.
Appreciate it.
All right, so we're gonna go to 319 area code. You are on the air live with LTMB.
This is Snork in Old I have the draft proposal for the new Iowa caucus, and it is really, really, really riggable. First of all, it used to be one evening, which if you couldn't get off work, you basically couldn't vote. If you had any reason you couldn't get there. So the new one, in order to allow for absentee voting, they decided that it's going to be held online with unsecured computers. Everybody can use their own. And smartphone, any device you want, you can use to connect to the caucus and participate. So you could participate in any state you want to participate. So the virtual caucuses, rather than just being one opportunity to hack, will be held 6 different days. So each day they can take account and say, well, Kamala needs this much percentage more votes, and magically have them the next day without any recording of which IP addresses and who's at the other side. They say it's going to be as good as home banking, Well, we all, I don't know if you guys have gotten the things, well, oops, we've been hacked. We had to shut down our system on the weekend. Well, it happens. And guess who's going to get hacked when they try this? They've said they've got Harvard University has put together a team, and they've all decided that the system that they have is perfect. Well, which of the people on this are going to be representing Harvard? Next, streamlining realignment. It used to be in a caucus that as many people wanted to run for president, fine. You had to have somebody in each precinct want to vote for you. And on the first pass, anybody that had somebody that wanted to vote for him got recorded. And whoever didn't have enough to be considered viable, they divide how many people are there versus how many delegates they're going to be allowed to select, and they come up with a number. You have to meet on each pass. And if you don't meet, it used to be that you could gather in groups and say, well, you could finish voters 15 minutes to talk to other people to decide who else you would like to support, or if you'd like to leave. So then they would group up with the others, and then they'd count again. And everybody would just keep going to different corners of the room until it got down to 2 people. And then, they'd vote, and then there was a winner and a loser. Well, this time, for what they call the non-viable groups, if you have a non-viable group, you're going to be able to be talked into going over and voting with someone else. But let's say that Tulsi Gabbard gets enough voters to be considered viable, which is like in a precinct with 100 people showing up, 2 people might consider viable on the first pass. Well, if after that she loses, since she's considered viable, her people cannot walk over to Bernie and say, okay, we'll join your group. And that's what used to be so great about it. It used to be like ranked choice voting. If this person didn't win, I want to go with that one. If this one didn't win, I want to go with that one. Now it's you got one shot, and if yours doesn't last, and you're not some outlier, then Kamala Harris gets it. Then the next one is the recounting.
Hold on a second. You want to say something about it?
No, I was just saying I'm very uncomfortable with the phone thing. I don't see how any kind of person with any kind of common sense would think that that's not only an efficient way for people to cast their ballot, but a safe way.
But it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just don't think the proper security protocols are in place yet for that. I mean, because you're dealing with thousands of people who have a device. Those devices themselves would need to be protected. Are they going to protect?
No. You don't have to worry about that. You're going to use your own. You're going to bring your own home phone or your own home computer.
Yeah, that's safe.
Yeah, that's safe.
Yeah, that's real safe.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's questions as to whether the machines that we currently use that are in a secure location are safe. Those have been proven not to be safe. So now we're going to go open network now, as if that cannot be hacked. Like you're going to leave it to like individual people to make sure they're not clicking. Go ahead.
And we're still talking about the individual people, not the systems that are counting and coordinated.
This actually what you're talking about, and just reforming how things are done electorally. I read an article about the state of Georgia and what they're trying to do with their election system, and they're actually trying to implement these machines that will, and we've talked about that before. I can't remember with what caller, maybe Will. But the machines will actually print out a receipt. A receipt. But actually, either the printout or what is fed into the machine is only going to have a barcode.
Oh, kind of like a damn lottery ticket?
Yes. So it's easy. Well, it's practical to assume that barcode could be hacked and nobody would know. Like, we wouldn't know whatsoever because it's a barcode. Unless you speak barcode language, you wouldn't know whatsoever what's going on. So your vote could be easily changed, but that's what they're trying to do. And this is a significant push to do it. I think they're actually really close in getting that done. So not just in what you're talking about in Iowa, around this country, man, we have significant problems with our electoral process.
Yeah, the document that I have up now is not the other one, so I don't have a line by line item of how each thing goes. They're going to change how the precinct people record the votes, and then whatever the report, whether it's correct or not, is locked. So in order to meet the demands of the big three networks, CNN, MSNBC, and whatever, at a certain time they're expected to give their results to the national. And whatever results they give them are going to be used. They're not going to be overridable. That's it. They're going to be locked.
Well,
even if they're incorrect, that's what we're going to go with.
Well, that's not good information you gave us. You definitely didn't paint lipstick onto a pig.
And then the bad stuff starts.
Yeah, then the bad stuff starts. Look, man, this is something that
this is available at iowademocrats.org. No spaces, all lowercase.
We're going to have to check that out. Yeah, we're going to have to check that out. I know, look, there were significant concerns about what happened in 2016 during the primaries, and for good reason. We highlighted a lot of them, how, especially in, I believe it was Illinois, how they ran out of ballots, and then they were going to allow them to late vote because they ran out of ballots.
That's not their fault.
Not their fault whatsoever, because they wanted to vote. They showed up to vote. They were going to allow the late vote, and then it was the
Attorney General, State's Attorney General.
Yeah, the State's Attorney General that said, well, the Illinois Constitution doesn't allow for late voting, so we can't do it. And that's just one instance where we saw the corruption. We saw significant issues in New York. We saw it in Arizona. We saw it in California.
Turns out that state
Nevada.
Attorney General was friends and a supporter of
Hillary Clinton. Yeah. On our Facebook page, had pictures of her. I think either with Hillary Clinton or
holding sign. I'm with her.
I'm
with her.
Yeah, had a sign with Hillary Clinton. So look, this is going to be a significant issue at this point because we're right. I mean, we're close to it. This is 2019. The debates are starting. Primaries don't start until primaries and caucuses don't start till next year. But will anything happen to where we can mitigate these types of concerns? Man, I really don't know. And
all the rules,
probably not.
All the rules are going to be locked in on March 14th.
March 14th. So we're talking days.
Talking days. If they don't have a national outcry about the hackability of the Iowa election, and if there's not a national outcry, it says fix it fast, or you lose. The one thing Iowa is afraid of losing, the only thing we get tourists for is the caucus. So if we lose First in the Nation caucus, it's the thing that most Iowans are afraid of. Just threaten to take that away if we don't get it.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Snort.
Bye.
All right, yeah. Thank you for calling in and bringing that to our attention. We are definitely going to take a look at that. That's just one more significant concern about our elections.
Are you surprised, though?
I'm not surprised. Yeah. A lot of people, look, there are a lot of people that believe, unfortunately, they believe, hey, why vote anyway? Because we know the powers that be they have the ability to do something shady about our elections. Since we've been voting in the state of South Carolina, we've always had machines. We've never had, written paper ballots. And, it's just that's the way of life here. That's just it. To actually change things, it's a significant effort, and it would take a lot of people. It would take a lot of support. So, all right, we're going to get to, I believe this might be our last call. It's from the 770 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, Tony.
Hey, what's going on, Tony?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, sorry about that. I was listening to you on speaker. Yeah, I just wanted to comment what y'all talked about earlier. You're saying how all of a sudden all these smear pieces and and pundits are coming out of the woodwork talking against Bernie. Yeah, they've been doing that, and if you've been paying real close attention, a lot of them, or at least half of them, were supposed to get spots in Hillary's campaign.
Yes, there was dang, I forgot her name.
Zerlina Maxwell? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Zerlina Maxwell. Ooh, man.
Ooh-wee.
Yo, I only could watch like a little bit of her because I just want to jump through the screen and like choke her so bad. She came on MSNBC. She's done this twice. First, she misrepresented Bernie's speech in Chicago. She made it a point. Now, first of all, if you're going to introduce yourself, right, on cable news network and to deliver opinion, and you introduce yourself as someone who supported Hillary Clinton, like, why do you have to preface your analysis and commentary with that? Right there, you're giving yourself away. She misrepresented what Bernie's speech and said he didn't bring anything up to have to do with race until the 23rd minute. In Hillary's speech and blah, 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 and so Kamala's speech, and this, I forgot who she was talking about, but she said
Kamala
Harris.
Elizabeth
Warren's speech. Like, she brought up race like sooner. I was like, first of all, that's a dumb point. So you're determining like how serious someone is about a particular topic based on like when they brought it up and not necessarily the substance. So first, that was kind of nonsensical. But second,
what if it was the last one?
What's the last one? But second,
I'm just saying, what if it was the last one?
It was a lie. He actually did, I guess, provide some sort of commentary on his kind of racial agenda way before
right
that
at the
mark.
front. Actually,
right at the front.
He was like, I guess, singing people's praises that spoke before him.
So it was like,
he was very congratulatory, but again, thankful.
She is there as a black gatekeeper, as a black face to try to sow discord amongst black voters by distorting Bernie's positions and kind of presenting this narrative that he doesn't care or there's other people who care more than he does.
But see,
she also lied about the crime bill and said that Bernie wrote the 1994 crime bill with Biden.
But see, this is the same person, Zerlina Maxwell, that did work on the 2016 Hillary Clinton campaign. This is the same person that weeks earlier, when it was around the time of the State of the Union address, that she had nothing but criticism and condemnation for Bernie Sanders because he was going to be offering his own response when a black woman, Stacey Abrams, was going to be doing the official response. Now, she seemed not to notice that Bernie had done it the previous 2 years and that usually there are multiple people that do a response to the State of the Union and that his was not going to be televised nationally. It wasn't going to be on cable networks or anything like that. He was going to do it on social media. But that was just way too far for her. This showed her that he does not care about black people and that he won't step back and just let black people be. You know, it's just, man.
Yeah, they've been at it. I mean, every single time, ever since pretty much Bernie, ever since he announced. Well, actually before that, they've been doing it the whole time. Mm-hmm. She was doing it at the Politicon. If y'all watch that, she was doing the same thing then at Politicon. Yeah, that was really turning people off, man. You know, because all the fans of all the online pundits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was really turning people off. They were like booing her and stuff.
Well, see, like we talked about with the what's her name, Sherry Bustos. We did a story about her and her pretty much throwing cold water on the idea of Medicare for All. These type of people that either are establishment politicians or are supportive of the establishment politicians. They have to suppress the effort to go left. They have to do it. And the only way you do that is by throwing cold water on these ideas and on these politicians that have the moral courage to do that. Because they're actually trying to advocate for people, try to actually represent people. So that message really sounds good. It's going to sound good to people. So how you do that? You be disingenuous. You attack them. That's what she's showing me.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention, because you said you haven't really looked into it, but I could have sworn, or maybe you didn't look into it. Maybe was the ADOS movement? Yeah. It's Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Antonio Moore.
Yeah, I've seen both of them talking about it.
Yeah, they're extensions of it. They're not it. There's groups that have been around
No, they're the ones that started the ADOS. They're not the ones that started the reparations. That's been going on for like decades.
Okay, yeah. What I'm saying, like, yeah, they're ADOS, but I'm saying they're extension of the push for reparations.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, they're the ones that started the hashtag ADOS. Right. They're the ones that has gotten it back into the dialogue. It's those two. I'm telling you.
You know it is. I know. I watch. Go ahead.
It started maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I watch Tone Talks and I watch Breaking Brown with Yvette Carnell, and I watch when they do things together. So yeah, I watch them. I watch both of them. They're legit. They've been around for a long time.
Tony, how you feel about it?
I'm all for it. I mean, to me, reparations is like it's like a case for justice. I mean, it's basically what it is.
I agree.
I mean, like.
We've talked about reparations many times. Like you said, it's a case for justice. It should have been done many years ago. People have been engaged in this fight for decades. So ADOS, like I said, there's a lot of criticism about it. I don't know where the criticism emanated from. Like originally, I don't know why there's such so many questions about it being possibly bots, Russians, like maybe there are people that are trying to co-opt it and try to push people in another direction.
Yeah, I do believe that there might be people who are trying to co-opt it. I do think that kind of ties into the conversation we were having about Zelina Maxwell, like black people or people who are put out in the media who are black, who are trying to sow discord amongst black voters. So when this conversation about reparations comes up and actually legitimate movements bring up legitimate points, I do think there's a chance for there to be maybe some, like I said, some front groups that try to present themselves to be a part of that movement that will actually make the conversation, or their presence is designed to make the conversation not constructive. It's just up to us to determine which groups are constructive and what groups are legitimate. So I'm not necessarily like kind of dismissing Sharon's point. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to probably just give some more clarity to it. So I'm acknowledging that it's probably true that there's going to be some groups out there that are purposefully trying to muddy the waters and not differentiate themselves from actual ADOS movement.
When I first heard about it, though, and this was just weeks ago, but when I first heard about it, of course, I won't say, like I said I didn't delve into it to a large degree. Like I did do a little bit of research. I did hear Yvette.
They've been going. Oh, it's like, man, that stuff is fire, man. If you go to the right, into the right online crowds, that stuff is like dynamite. If you're on the outside, especially if you're not black and you don't know where to look, you're gonna be like, I don't understand what the fuss is. But you get into the black groups, that stuff is like dynamite. You gotta go in there. You either gonna get your feelings hurt.
The good thing about it, though, the good thing about the hashtag, or just that it's an acronym right now, is that I think it gives it renewed focus. Because when you're talking about reparations, there are some leading figures that have been out there for a while. Ta-Nehisi Coates has been out there talking about reparations.
Yeah, definitely.
The ADOS, that's something to grab onto. So I'm all for, if it makes it easier for people to hear the message, or I guess at least be directed to a place where they're talking about reparations and the push for reparations. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
but
that's what it's all about. It's a push for reparations. It isn't like they started up the idea about it. It wasn't like they came in with it all by themselves.
Yeah.
The thing that differentiates that sets them apart is that they got a lot of data that backs them up. It ain't like
I've been watching them for the last few years, and they always come with the business, man. We want to address a comment in the chat that's in regard to this topic. Lisa, glad you're watching the show tonight, and she does bring up the fact that the whole bot thing started with Joanne Reed, someone who was a topic of discussion on this show, and she is correct. Lisa is correct. It was started by Joanne Reed and some generic black chick. I think that generic black chick you're talking about is Angela Rye. And probably who else has put their 2 cents in? What's the dude? The News One guy. Rolades Martin. So they were talking down about reparations all this time. They were talking down about reparations all this time, and now that the ADOS movement has been getting steam, and they've
been catching some heat, man. Trust me.
And I'm kind of glad that they. We only got a minute left. I'll let you have the last word, man, because we can talk after.
Yeah, Angela Rye, Roland Martin. There was some more people that caught a lot of heat, and I'm drawing a blank, but I'll talk to y'all. I'll talk to y'all next show.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you for calling in, Tony. Good to hear from you.
The technology chick. Oh, but it was So it was another chick. So Lisa says it wasn't that chick, but it was some other chick. I forgot. I know you're talking about, but Angela Rye was one of them. See, what happened was, I'm glad that whole bot thing happened, because see, they kind of like jumped the gun a bit, and so them kind of putting out this bot thing kind of made people kind of bring attention to it. Now that some of the groups have been seen as legitimate, that kind of pushed the conversation. And I think Tone Talk and Yvette Carnell, I guess some network came to them and wanted them to speak, because those other people that were talking about ADOS, I guess they did not have the knowledge. They didn't have the numbers with them. So now that the ADOS movement has been seen as legitimate, they tried to change their tune. They tried to tried to backpedal, but it's too late now. It's too late now.
But this is ridiculous, though. First of all, look, it was really dumb for anybody to throw some shade at it, because, again, the hashtag might be new, the acronym might be new, the name might be new, but what they're actually pushing for is not new whatsoever. Yeah. So if you boil it down to that, if you boil it down to simplest terms, we're talking about reparations. That is not new whatsoever. So you can call it whatever you want to. You can call this organization whatever you want to. You can call this movement whatever you want to. But it is all about the push for reparations. Mm-hmm. That's all it's about. So why would you throw shade at that?
And
be like, we don't know where these people are coming from.
And if people have any questions about, this particular movement, this particular hashtag, maybe look for actually organizations and groups that kind of started before them. Like there's one group called NCOBRA, which is the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. It's just N''Cobra. And they were founded 30 years ago. So they're just, ADOS is an offshoot of...
but they're all doing the same thing?
All doing the same thing.
All right. You know what? I did want to mention one thing, and this isn't really a story. I mean, it could be a story, but I wanted to give a shout out to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I saw right before we were going to go live. They're set to become the first major city in the United States of America that is going to ban businesses from rejecting cash from customers, from rejecting cash from customers. So there's been a lot of businesses, and this just doesn't have to do with the city of Philadelphia. There's all over the country in these different cities. Businesses do not want to accept cash. All they want to do is accept card payments, debit cards and credit cards. And that puts a significant strain on a lot of poor people, a lot of people with limited resources, a lot of people that don't have access to debit cards, bank accounts, credit cards, or anything like that. How do they pay for things? How do they go around the city and pay for whatever, pay for lunch, pay for some kind of product or anything like that if they don't have cash and you don't accept cash?
Yeah, that's why there's kind of this big push probably over the last decade or so to get people on these prepaid reloadable cards.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're kind of like pseudo bank accounts. Mm-hmm. They're run by these big banks, but they kind of have different fees attached to them.
Right. So this bill that was also it was just signed into legislation. It goes into effect on July 1st, and it would also prevent businesses from charging customers for paying for cash paying with cash. So that's another good thing too, because businesses would try to get around that. Okay, sure, we'll allow cash, but there's going to be a surcharge for that. No, you can't do that as well. A surcharge for using cash.
That's crazy.
So like I said, it goes into effect July 1st. Any businesses that violate this law, they could be the possible fine could be all the way up to $2,000. So again, shout out to Philadelphia for doing the right thing. not everybody has debit cards. Not everybody has credit cards. Okay, there's some people with very limited sources of income, but they're people just like us, right? They're just human beings. They want to take advantage of the communities that they live in, as just like everybody else. No matter if you're rich, you're poor, you have to get something to eat. You gotta go get maybe some paper. What else do people buy? Shoes, hats.
Just regular stuff, toilet paper,
umbrellas, furniture, whatever, Think about going to the gas station and you can't pay cash. You can't pay cash. Let me get that gum over there.
A dollar.
I can't give you $1?
$1 pack of gum.
You gonna charge me $1.25 for this dollar worth of gum right here? I'm saying $1, man. It's probably higher than that nowadays, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't chew gum. I
Yeah.
don't chew gum anymore, man.
I don't know. I wonder if it's higher than that. It probably is higher than that.
I don't know. I don't know. So I don't really do gum or candy like that anymore, man.
But I believe in New York and possibly New Jersey. I think I saw. I know for sure New York, but they're visiting something like this as well, so that they can protect lower income people, which is absolutely the right thing to do. Of course, yeah, Brooks Rogers, exactly right. It is the war on the poor, man. And if they're able to succeed, what does that do? It kicks them out of the area. They can't afford to be there anymore, right? Can't even get supplies. They're gonna have to go to some other type of town. And you think about it, and think about a city like Philadelphia, which has public transportation. My gosh, if you have to go out of the city to use cash,
that's going to be an even bigger financial strain.
My gosh, man. These are heartless people, man.
Maybe you just pointed to something else. You know what I'm saying? They're purposely trying to do that. It's like a backwards way of kind of gentrifying the city. You know what I'm saying? Get them out in a different way. It's like you redlining them with money.
Exactly. You can't pay cash, man.
It's monetary redlining.
Cash used to be king. Well, cash is still king, but it's cash in the form of plastic now.
Plastic now.
Like
plastic or better yet, digits.
Yeah.
Digits.
Exactly.
Digits.
Yeah. War on the poor, man. That's what it is, man. All right. We're going to wrap this thing up. I think we had a good show. I think we lost a lot of people because we had that hiccup earlier in the program. I don't know how long we were off. Maybe, I hope it was just about a minute or two. We're going to do some checking on this over the weekend.
Now,
I don't think it's the software, but there is an update to the software. So, and I definitely didn't want to install it before the program because
you wouldn't know how it would affect the settings.
No,
or how it would affect the.
That's just opening up a whole can of worms, and I didn't want to do that. So we'll see if that fixes it. But it doesn't look like it's an issue with the software. It does look like it's an issue with YouTube, because I don't think we had any issues with Twitter, and we didn't have any issues with Twitch as well. So hopefully it'll correct itself or something will happen, because last 2 nights we've had some technical difficulties which we had nothing to do with, really. So we do have a contributor to the stream in the super chat, Gear Randon. Seems like we named Gear Randon every night.
Appreciate that, man.
No doubt. Appreciate you, Gear Randon. Very loyal, consistent contributor. Not just a contributor, but watching the program. We see you on Twitter as well. So thank you for all you do. And I do want to note our new patrons once again. If you didn't hear us at the beginning of the show, we did make mention of them. It's Rodrigo D and Luum. I believe that's what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually a few days ago that both of them had become patrons on patreon.com. But they didn't get the message for some reason. That was Monday and Tuesday. So for some reason didn't get the message, and I'm just seeing it now. But thank you very much for deciding to support the show monetarily.
Y'all can easily be spending that money somewhere else, man.
No doubt.
On tacos, clothes.
You always got some random stuff to throw out there.
Pornhub premium subscription. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? You can be spending that money on
Oh boy.
Appreciate it.
Does anybody spend money on porn?
I hope not. I sincerely hope not.
You know there's some free stuff out there, right?
You get a slap to the face if you pay for stuff.
You can get it for free, okay? You can get it for free.
And, you know, and the stuff that you do have to pay for, most likely, with the way the internet works, it'll be available for free later on because, you know, we're a savvy group. Humans are a savvy group of people.
But if you would like to contribute monetarily to the show, to this program, you see the URL on the screen is patreon.com/LTMB. Did we have... Was that today? You said we had a question about what we're gonna do with the money. Oh no, that was a joke. See, I'm not. See, I didn't put them together.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
Moose Gal.
The Chicago.
Moose Gal.
That's right. Yeah, not doing that. Not doing that. Yankees till I die. Yankees. New baseball season. Baseball season is starting. Spring.
Man, that's right. That is right. Because college basketball is about to come to an end. We about to be in March Madness.
That's right.
We in March. So,
yeah, we in March. Yeah. And towards the end.
Towards the end. So it's
conference play and then
conference tournament and then the
NCAA.
64.
Yeah.
And then the NIT. The not in the tournament.
Who I never watched. The only reason I will watch anything from NIT is if it's a highlight on SportsCenter.
Yo, I don't think I've ever watched an NIT game in my entire life.
I don't think so.
Highlights, but...
Highlights. Yeah, highlights.
Didn't South Carolina win the NIT one year?
If not, they got real close. But they might have. They would have been some years ago, though.
I think they did.
Had to be some years ago, though. Let's just see what's going on in the chat section. Anything we have to address before we make it out of here. All right. Let's see. I don't think I see anything here that we have to...
I think I saw something in there that said Moose Guy has a birthday coming up. She won't be watching the show later on in this month because she has a birthday.
Okay.
I think she said the 19th.
Oh, you know what? Look, you know, we talked about Marion Williamson and Andrew Yang. You know, we want to bring them onto the program. So in the next few weeks or so, we're gonna reach out and see if we can get them on the program. I think that would be beneficial for people to hear more from them because, like I said, they, you know, largely they're being ignored by corporate media. Largely. I saw Andrew Yang on Fox Business, I believe, with Varney. And Varney was trying to paint him as some socialist, of course. And, of course, we saw Marion Williamson on CNN once. But, again, largely they're being ignored. So the more that their message can get out there, the more that they can share exactly what kind of candidate they are and what they would like to see happen in the United States of America, I think it benefits them. So, like I said, we're going to reach out and see if we can get them on the program.
Yeah, because somebody did ask about that.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. Like whether we'll get like some kind of, you know, interview process.
Yeah.
You know.
Because with Yang, there's much more to his platform than basic income. And I see a lot of people talking about the basic income, and I think it's very important to do that because I think it's a good idea. I think it's a very good idea. But there's more to him than just that. So I think we should, you know, give him some time to actually explain what more there is to his platform. And we haven't talked about him yet on this show. Marion Williamson, we've made, we've made a couple of, man, I gotta get some water. We've made a couple videos about Marion Williamson, but it would be good to hear her go into depth about some issues too that maybe we haven't covered about it, because we've talked about the criminal justice aspect, but I don't believe we've really highlighted it. So
yeah, because her stuff is really detailed.
It's very detailed. So I'd like to hear her talk about that. So maybe we can get them on the show because we do have the capability with this software. So just got to make sure we were going pretty good until the last two nights.
I don't understand what's going on the last two nights. last time it cut off kind of towards the end. This time it cut off in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like after we were on for about
and it
45 minutes.
It
doesn't do that.
There's a question from High Carber. How's UBI different than welfare? Well, first of all, UBI is like a stimulus package. You can consider it a stimulus package. It's not just to like take care of people, like, because if you want to frame it as welfare, it sounds like you would frame it as something like you're just taking care of lazy people, and what they're gonna do with that money is nothing that's productive. And maybe you're not coming from a place like that. I'm not sure, but UBI, Universal Basic Income, that's like a stimulus package, because if you give people, and I think Andrew Yang, he talks about $1,000 a month for everybody, and it's not dependent on anything. It's just money that you get from the government. If you have that money, then no longer are you in a place where you can't afford an emergency expense. No longer are you in a place where you have to take a shitty ass job that's not going to do right by you, that's not actually looking out for your best interest, that doesn't want to put you in a safe situation. You don't have to take that shitty job. You can be very selective about what job you are going to accept. And in turn, that's a significant point of interest to me, because in turn, businesses would have to cater to employees instead of the other way around. No longer will we have to just take shitty conditions. No, you're going to have to actually make a pitch to us. Why should we come work for you? Why is this opportunity better than this opportunity over here? You understand? So I like that aspect of it. And of course, again, if you do have additional income, you can actually put it back into the economy, which people would do. People that are in the poor class, people that are in the middle class, they spend money when they have it. They spend money. They are the people that actually keep this economy moving. If it's a strong economy, it's because of the middle class. They are the ones that are spending most of the money, because they represent the largest majority of people in this country. So that's just a little bit of what I have to say about it. I believe in it a little bit, I guess. I guess I believe in it a little bit.
You believe in like the concept and the purpose?
Yeah, I do. What if someone blows their UBI on booze and hookers? Then that's their prerogative. Do you believe that the majority of us are going to do that? Because I don't think they are. But if they do, that's on them. It's on them. All right, so yeah. All right, so the next program was going to be on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place. We appreciate everybody that called into the program tonight. We have Sharon, Will, Sav, Snork, and Tony. Thank you all for calling in and making your voice heard, giving us some good questions to answer, offering us some good content. Snork giving us an update on the change of procedure in Iowa. We're going to look into that. But we thank you all for participating in this show.
Good point, Shayna. Money on booze and hookers still gets fed back into the economy.
Hell yeah. That's money those hookers didn't have.
Yeah,
right?
Because check this out. If booze is legitimate purchases without UBI, why wouldn't it be legitimate purchases with UBI?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because
you just made the case for it.
Yeah, because essentially alcohol gets sold everywhere. Everywhere.
Yep.
Bars, restaurants, grocery stores, convenience stores.
These are legal businesses.
These are legal businesses, right?
Yeah. Even strip clubs. It's a legal business. We want money pumped back into the economy. We want people to have access to income. We want people.
I thought you were about to say lap dances. Because you seemed like you felt something. Because the way you had your hand down, I was like, he's about to say lap dances because you was like feeling something. It seems like that was the only thing that would elicit that type of.
You was waiting for that.
That type of physical.
Nah, I wasn't going there. Not going there, man. But nah, yeah, we have to. Trump talks about a strong economy. It's in a bubble, okay? It's in a bubble. The middle class is not growing at the pace that it should be. Poor people are still poor as hell. So gotta do something about that. And I think UBI is a very good idea. It's not gonna elevate everybody. It's not gonna enrich people. $1,000. Think about a lazy person getting $1,000 a month in income. Is that gonna do something for them? Like, yeah, I mean, it'll support some lazy habits, I'm sure. But is it gonna get them like in the right situation? Is it gonna get them to a better house, a better apartment? Is it gonna help them further their studies or something like that? Not likely. It can help them eat. It can help keep a roof over their head. It can help keep them clothed, their families clothed. It can help that. But I think people understand that it's just an addition. You know what I'm saying? It's not the end all be all. Like, with this money, I don't have to worry so much. I can possibly do other things. Like, I can take a chance. I can probably start a business. Maybe I can start a business. Maybe I can send my son or daughter to college, you know? Maybe I can plan for the future. At this time, we got too many people living paycheck to paycheck, and many months, they're not in the black, they're in the red. I know what that feels like. I remember when I bought a condo, and I thought I was gonna be okay.
Thought you was gonna be okay.
I was gonna be okay, and then I remember it was a few months later, I started noticing. I was like, let me look at this. Shit, I'm in the red every month. Yeah. Damn. It's tough, man. It's tough. All right, everybody, we're finally going to get off. We appreciate you for staying with us. We hope that you join us on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be cutting up some of this live stream so that we can upload it to YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, click that bell so that you can get all of our content right away. But with that, everybody, have a good night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you in a few days. All right. Peace out.
Damn, son. Switch Nick.
Nick.